Across the Desk
with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
So on our Across the Desk feature this morning, I'm hosting current affairs TikTokers. So as you know, for decades, current affairs in this country, in fact globally, lived in familiar spaces. So you're watching the news on television, you're reading the morning newspapers, you're listening to talk radio. But today, the news conversation is increasingly happening somewhere else. It's on our phones. It's in vertical video, often under a minute long. And this is the age of TikTok current affairs. You've got journalists, commentators, creators that are breaking down politics, they're breaking down policy, global news for millions of young people that are scrolling through social media. And I would like to hear from you if you often rely on these TikTok accounts that break down the news, give you a summary of what's happened, you know, some of the headlines. Because in fact, across the continent, and particularly in South Africa, the shift towards social first news is actually quite dramatic. Studies show that about 33% of South Africans now use TikTok to consume news, while even more actually rely on platforms like YouTube and other social media for current affairs updates. And I think this change really reflects a broader global trend. So give me a call on 011-883-0702 if you're one of those that follow some of these TikTokers that give you a summary of what happened or just what's in the headlines or some analysis. You can send a WhatsApp as well on 072-702-1702. I'm joined by three voices who operate at this intersection of journalism, commentary, and social media. We've got Khomotso Modise in studio with us, who's a respected senior reporter here at Eyewitness News, who always brings us breaking news and analysis to radio and digital audiences. Khomotso, thank you for coming through.
Thanks.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You're often on this side of the
mic.
Yeah. Now
it feels good to be on the other side.
Good.
Yeah, a little intimidating, a little scary, but yes.
All right. We also have Dan Koda, who is a TV, radio, and internet personality known for mixing sharp commentary with satire and deep dives into South African politics and culture on television and online platform. Dan, you're also used to being on this side of the mic. Thank you for coming through, man.
So nice to be on the radio again. This is my, I always think that all broadcasters have, all of us, no matter how many different platforms you're so on TV, of course, we've all got almost like a species of animal, one home habitat.
Yeah.
And this is my true habitat. This is like, come back to radio and I'm like, let me like crack my fingers, get comfortable.
No, it's good to have you, man. We also have Amahle Jaxa, who is a digital voice unpacking South African politics, social issues for online audiences, particularly through short form video commentary. Amahle, thank you so much for also joining us. Good morning.
Morning. How's it? Thank you so much for having me.
We're good. I want to kick off with you, Khomotso. You already do news. You report on Eyewitness News. You report on breaking news. When did you decide, okay, I have to do this? Because here's how I found out now you are a trending superstar. A lot of my friends rely on your videos. Like they'll send, one time a friend just sent me a video you had done. I was like, isn't that Khomotso Modise? And I didn't know that's what you do. When did you realize that, here's an opportunity here?
Sure. Look, I think it's been, a year and a half maybe, of being consistent. And I say consistent because I had been making content before, last year or the year before, but I started making content consistently about a year ago. Mm-hmm. And for me, I just got tired of being the lady in the comment section, Clem.
Oh, you were that girl?
I was that girl, I got so tired of being the person saying that's not true, right? And what I realized is that the video that had a lot of inaccuracies was making it much further than my little comment in the comment section. And maybe one or two people who understood what I was talking about or understood the subject matter would come into my comments and or come into the comment, like it and engage me. But everyone else was going with what this sometimes very well-meaning creator was saying that was, factually incorrect. So I decided, maybe let me just start making content and people will come to my platform to get the correct information, hopefully.
Yeah.
And, they did. So that's how it started for me. It was really just about, how's about we create a platform where when people want to know the truth, accurate information that they can rely on. I mean, I was already making that type of content. I say it all the time that journalists are actually content creators already, you know. So I was already doing this, and it was on other traditional platforms. It was on the radio, of course. It was on YouTube for EWN. It was a really seamless, you know, shift or move for me to start doing it on TikTok. And that's how it started for me.
I come to you as well because, I mean, you know, there's like Madlanga, then there's ad hoc.
Yes.
Like you have to choose one.
Yes.
Sometimes they're both hot in one day.
Yes.
And I'm stuck at Madlanga, and sometimes I come because I really like that. Sometimes you take the key important stories and you just summarize that. And even as someone who's in the news, sometimes I've not really caught up with the latest.
And you know what it
helps
is?
me out.
Yeah, it's the summarizing and then the contextualizing, which I think is what people sometimes struggle with.
Yeah.
So they might understand that this happened, but the context isn't always present there, and being able to make sense of it. And I think that's what I try to do on my videos.
Yeah. Dan, you've built an audience across TV, radio, social media. How different is storytelling on TikTok compared to the traditional broadcasting that you've done for many years now?
Just checking my TikTok comment sections to see whether or not it was my videos that Khomotso was so outraged by in the comments that I was the genesis of your outrage and then your creativity. You know what's so interesting, and both of you will understand this, is that TikTok is fundamentally like radio in terms of the speed and word efficiency that you need to affect to get somebody's attention and to hold it. And so the word economy and the efficiency of humor and the distillation of what is most important to say immediately and as speedily as possible. Khomotso, I am always stunned and in awe of you guys for the way that you're able to pack the most crucial of enormous and many stories into so little time. That is the attention economy already at work. And so when I realized, so I'm obviously on a multitude of things. So when I write for TV, I write completely differently because I know I've got more average view time than if I'm on TikTok, and somebody doesn't click another channel as easily as they swipe their thumb. I write differently for YouTube, and I write differently for radio because it's all different times of attention economy practices. And fundamentally, what I realized very quickly about TikTok, and now that they've changed the algorithm, Instagram, their algorithm operates very similarly to TikTok. It used to be that Instagram suppressed political content, suppressed news content, suppressed word-heavy content on a screen. But now they've changed it, so my videos perform similarly on Instagram and TikTok. But the lesson here is that the people doing the absolute best in terms of rapid word economy and getting efficient storytelling are the radio presenters on TikTok.
That's interesting.
For me, at least.
That's really dope. Amahle, what about you? Like because what you do as well, your content really breaks down these complex political issues, whether it's on YouTube, it's on TikTok, and it's in a way that actually resonates with online audiences. What inspired you to start doing current affairs content?
Well, for me, it was a disconnect with my brother where we essentially got into this big argument and he was refusing to vote in 2024. And he didn't see the need to vote. And for me, voting is such an important factor of being a South African. And then through conversations with him and his friends, I just realized that there's a whole generation that's coming after me. I'm a millennial who is very much disinterested in politics. And I find politics and current affairs to be so interesting. So I thought to myself, okay, how can I break down these topics so that they get involved? Because what I noticed with my brother is that it's not that he doesn't want to get involved. It's just that he's almost left out of the conversation because of the heavy jargon of politics, or because it just feels worldly and outside of his spec of life. And because of social media, as Dan mentioned, you know, they don't have the attention spans we have. We used to sit with our parents and watch the news because there was only one TV. You know, and that's, I think, why my generation is a little bit more informed about these things. But they grew up on iPads and laptops and cell phones. So that was kind of like the inspiration to kind of just target the next generation. I then didn't also expect the overlap into the older generation. I mean, I bumped into a lady yesterday and she's probably in her 50s and she was like, "Are you the Housed lady?" Thank you so much. I didn't anticipate that at all.
Yeah.
So that was kind of for me, because I find politics and current affairs to be so interesting, and watching our country, you know, become what it has become, I felt that like in order for us to make change in this country, we kind of have to be educated on the issues that are happening and how we can better equip ourselves with information and knowledge.
Yeah. You know, Dan, one of the things, I mean, of course, what I enjoy with your videos also is just like the satire that you add. And of course, the political analysis as well, because you will say this is what's happening, but this is what I think of it. And sometimes you're brave enough to like call it for what it is, which is why, like myself, we end up getting into trouble and politicians don't want to come on our shows, whatever. But how do you balance that? Have you found that that's gotten into trouble a lot, especially when you were doing your show on ANC and you're inviting politicians to come to studio?
Well, I do not get politicians because unfortunately, unlike in other countries in the world, politicians in this country have not yet understood that the performance art of effective politics is to take on the hard questions. They're fearful. I was once told by somebody who I'd invited on because I agreed with them. They were the head of the gambling monitoring board, and I wanted to get them on to talk about how seriously the gambling crisis is affecting people in this country. So clearly I wasn't going to roast her at all or give her a hard time. And she came on and she was like, "So I've heard this is going to be tough for me." And I was like, no, it's not going to be tough for you at all. But on the other hand, politicians almost uniformly in this country will not speak to me because they are unwilling to submit to a challenging and a hard question or be open to jokes. One very significant exception is the about to be federal leader of the Democratic Alliance, Jordan Hill-Lewis, who attended my live theatre show in Cape Town in front of 300 people at the Old Fugard Theatre, the Homecoming Centre. And he took hard questions, took a joke, joked with me. And even though half the audience was there to give him a hard time while the other half were his followers, it stood him so well. Like I said to him at the beginning, because this was one day after Steenhuisen had announced that he was going to no longer run. I said to him at the beginning, I know you're not going to talk about this, but blink once if you're about to be the new DA federal leader. And he very theatrically, I don't know if he was a theater kid, he leant towards me, camera zooms in, you can see it on YouTube, and he double blinked, like both eyes. And that's the kind of vulnerability and personality that works with politicians around the world. The fact that the vast majority of politicians would rather take me to the BCCSA and lose, which is a 100 out of 100% record so far, than talk to me is just a further indictment on the wrong way that politicians are going about being politicians. But yeah, just like you, Clement, I think my position is always I have a healthy and warranted disrespect for the entire political class that I think is overwhelmingly self-serving, immoral, hypocritical, and untalented. And it's very easy for me now to do what I do because I think I've been doing this long enough that no one sincerely thinks I'm batting for a side because they've seen me take out or at least criticize everybody. There is no way you can say I'm an ANC shill or a DA shill or an EFF shill because look at my body of work.
That's it. And that's how you know you're doing it right.
I hope so, yeah.
Khomotso, is there often tension though from your experience between like traditional newsroom standards and the fast-paced world of social media commentary? Because what I find sometimes is, we want just the breaking and you want to be the first to break it. And sometimes you don't do it responsibly because you're not giving the necessary context.
Yeah.
What have you observed in these platforms?
No, absolutely. I think that there is tension. I think that Dan knows this. I was at an event a few months ago where you were actually speaking about this.
Sorry, which one?
One of the banks actually had an event. I don't know if I can. Yes, right. And I think you felt really attacked on that day, because the current conversation and the discourse is content creator versus journalist. In fact, yesterday on LinkedIn, I saw a meme of someone like a side eyeing, and it was like journalists looking at content creators, right? And I can't stand you. So yes,
there's tension like that.
Yes. There is that conversation. That is the discourse, and I suppose what it's about from a journalist perspective. And I always joke that I'm right in the middle, right? Is that content creators may be using our news stories like we've worked so hard for. We've done all this research. I know how long it takes to put together a long exclusive piece, and then Dan Kora comes with his 3-minute video, circles a couple of things, keywords that he thinks are cool, and that's the perception. I'm not saying that's what you do, right? But the perception.
Oh, that's exactly what I do. Thank you so much.
But the perception is, who's this Dan Kora? Who is this, Amatha Jakes, who sat there, circled a couple of things and thought that she could summarize my story that I wrote for 3 weeks in 3 minutes, right? But I think we need to move from that, man.
Yeah.
I had this conversation a few weeks ago as well, and I said, at the heart of it, we work to inform and educate, and we want to empower people to make, responsible decisions. And I don't think it should matter, just as long as the content creators, are responsible in how they tell the stories. I think that's an important part of the conversation. But I don't think it matters whether it's coming from a traditional news source or if it's coming from a person who responsibly sat down, credited the journalist, and, did their due diligence and just told the story. We're getting information out there. We want to empower people. Yeah. That's what should be at the top, for us, and not necessarily the fact that it's been done by this guy or that guy.
Absolutely. And that's always a debate that happens. Even with broadcasters, remember when podcasts were coming up and then there was like radio presenters who were also looking at podcasters like, I can't stand them.
Yes.
Which is just weird. The world is moving, guys. We need to move along.
Do you know what I find? So a couple of things, and we talked about this at that event, is that one, podcasting and content creation should just be thought of as the new talk radio and the new TV. It's a mass broadcast medium that operates off of journalists' work. But my opinion and my experience, and I can't speak for all journalists, but a lot of journalists really love it when I cover their stories, because I credit them properly and I show their work on screen, particularly on YouTube and TikTok, and it gets their work out further than their kind of news media organization. The people who don't like me are the editors and the owners of those news media. Did you know that in a PowerPoint document a couple of years ago, I was told this and I wasn't supposed to know this, but in an internal PowerPoint document of a major news media company, they were going through the business side of the operation, and there was a PowerPoint slide and it just said threats, and it just had a picture of me.
And, you're a threat.
And I found out about that and I had to laugh, because my response was, you should do what the Americans are doing, which is hire content creators to maximize your newsroom's journalist work for your platform. Don't make the journalists be content creators. Not all of them are as talented, multi-talented as Komotso is. No disrespect. But they should be doing the beat and doing the work and figuring out the stories. You should hire content creators in-house to create the best video version of their articles for your TikTok channel, so that you can benefit. And this is not radical. This is already happening. Washington Post was one of the first to do it. New York Times does it. CNN does it.
Reuters is doing it now.
Reuters is doing it. Yeah. That's the future. Not quietly trying to rage against me because my coverage of your story, which I credit to you with, got 1 million views, whereas 5,000 people read your article because your editor is screwing up your distribution.
Yeah, I'll get Amahle in after the break. It's 26 after 10.
Across the Desk
With Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
10:31 on our Across the Desk feature this morning. I'm hosting Current Affairs TikTokers. Are you one of those who often rely on some of the videos they put up on TikTok, on YouTube, on some of their social media platforms, where they just make the news, politics, policy digestible? It's more palatable. It's their attention span. People don't really have 30 minutes to just sit there and watch the news anymore. They really want to get something that is a minute or so, but that still gives them the necessary context. We've got Komotso Modise in studio with us, Dan Koda and Amahle Jaxa. Amahle, I want to bring you in here. What kind of engagement do you often see from your followers when you're discussing these serious topics like politics, policy, governance? Do people actually engage, and what kind of engagements do you pick up?
Yeah, there's a lot of engagement, and there's a lot of people who have found almost like a home, not only on my pages, but I think on Dan and Komotso's pages as well. And there's a lot of, for example, I get a lot of, I've been waiting for you to break this down. And sometimes I feel bad, am I also causing attention spans to not be there because I've taken this thing and I've simplified it? There's a lot of, I finally know what I can say to my boss, or I can finally have a conversation at work. And I think that's primarily what we do. And just to touch on what you guys were saying earlier on before we went to break, I don't do breaking news because I fear misinformation and disinformation. And so unlike Komotso, who I think is very adept at breaking the news, I now take what traditional media has done and I sift through all different formats. TV, I listen to your show, for example, and then I compile a 10-minute video on all that I've heard. So there's a lot of people who I think felt left out of the conversation in terms of my engagement, who now believe they can be equipped to have these important conversations about voting, about Iran, about the commission, for example.
Yeah. Let's go to some WhatsApps coming through on 072-702-1702. I'll bring your calls as well on 011-883-0702.
I think with me, there's two people who I usually follow to get summaries of whatever is going on. And one of them is Thabo from 5FM. And one of them is Komoto Modise from Prime Media. And usually we are so busy that we do not have time to get more information on what is really happening on specific headlines or topics. And they summarize, especially Komoto, when it comes to the news. She summarizes so much that I really don't need to go to a specific website in order for me to read the whole story and understand what is going on. So I love that Komoto would summarize in maybe a 1 minute or a 2 minute video, and I'll understand what is going on.
Oh my God, Clem, you have three of my favorite. If I'm looking for news update on TikTok and I haven't been home the whole day to watch everything and all of that, those are my three favorite. Homozo Dan and How's It, Amate. I love her intro. I love all three of them. They do great work. Yeah, keep it up, guys.
Do you guys actually intentionally work on the intros to be catchy? Let me start with you, Amahle, because you are that How's It lady. Everybody knows you like that. When I told Mongani you're coming, Mongani actually repeated what you always say, Khomotso,
if you follow me, you know I come here.
So Amahle, were you intentional about that? Or was it just, this is how I'm going to start it, and then it caught?
No, they scream at me in traffic. They scream, "How's it?" for me, and they scare me all the time. And it was not intentional at all. It's how my friends and I greet each other.
Yeah.
So much so now me and my friends have to find another greeting. It's just, I don't know. How's it has always been something we've always said, just like, how's it? How are you? So it wasn't intentional at all. It was just me being a South African. We know South Africans love to greet. You cannot get anything done in South Africa if you don't start with a greeting. So that was kind of like the intention, that I'm just going to start the video every day by greeting. But the how's it just took a life of its own. It was never intentional that where I was deliberate, this is going to be my intro.
I say how's it with you, Jax, actually. So I'm just like, how's it, right? No, it was very intentional for me, and it was because I wanted people to know what I do and why I'm here.
And follow.
Yes.
What do you
follow,
say?
You must follow. So yes, it was, this is this is who I am, this is what I do, and remember to follow. It was very intentional for me. And now I say it without thinking about it.
Yeah. Do you find that you've built communities on these platforms then? There's because that's how we feel on radio. You would know this as someone
Recording
who does radio
stopped.
yourself. You would know that when you do this, the people who listen to you, that you talk to every day, they become family to you.
Yeah, it's funny.
Is it like that?
If I could just mention a WhatsApp that I just got from my own brother, James, who's my collaborator on our YouTube podcast show. He says, "Why are you interrupting my Clement time?" Which shows how you've built community. Yeah. Absolutely. So, for example, just to tap onto what you guys were saying, me starting every one of my podcasts with "Settle Down, Brother" happened to me. It was not a choice or intentional at all. After that infamous Piers Morgan appearance, when I did not remember that I said that, and the interview happened on a Monday and it came out on a Thursday, and then I kept getting tagged and this phrase on Twitter, and it went viral for a few weeks or whatever. I had to go and look it up, and then people just demanded on our WhatsApp line, in our comment sections, that become a hallmark phrase at the top of the show. And that's a perfect reflection of how you can build community. So Clement, you will know this, Komoto, you will know this. I take a radio community building approach to the podcast, because podcast is just radio on demand. It's as simple as that. And so we have a WhatsApp line. We We broadcast Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We feature people's comments from the previous day. We try to have conversations that last days, if not weeks. We try to use personality to be normal people. That's why we tell our jokes and have some fun and are silly and are self-deprecating. And that is how you build community. Jax does exactly the same thing, Amatle, in her comment sections. And what Amatle is doing, by the way, is extraordinary, because on a social media platform, like I use jokes to get people to keep watching. Amatle uses deeply reasoned, thought out, almost like TED Talk university lectures that she's built, but she's making them successful on a social media platform that prioritizes, if you make a video longer than 2 minutes, it had better be jaw-droppingly good. And Amatle is making 8 to 9 minute videos that are getting enormous and extraordinary views. So Amatle has actually managed to break through the wiring of TikTok for her success. Jax, I know I'm just gassing you up now, but we've done radio before together. So you know how I feel about you. Like, it's all good. But like, what Amatle has been able to pull off on a platform which actively penalizes long form video is absolutely outrageous.
By the way, speaking of your WhatsApp, Shingi on WhatsApp line says, "Hi Clement, I also love what Dan has done with his WhatsApps. I get immediate notifications of his latest content."
Yes.
And then the question is, does Khomotso and Amahle have that too? Do you guys do you have notifications?
Oh, sorry. So just to let you know, we have a WhatsApp channel. So you can text our WhatsApp line, but you can also join our WhatsApp channel, and then we will post on there when we have live event tickets, when we have merchandise for sale, and when we have new shows.
Okay, so maybe you guys should do that as well.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah. How long does it take you guys, Amahle and Khomotso, to put together those videos? Because sure, I mean, you, as Amahle, you said you listen to radio, you get but do you actually script it and edit it? How much time does it take you to really put up that 8-minute?
So I would say it takes like 4 to 5 hours the morning, right? So it would start with, when I'm going to gym, I'm listening to 7 and 2 on radio. And then I come back and I watch TV in the background. And then I read all these different articles. And then I do script it, but I don't edit. So I do everything in one take because I want it to be as authentic as possible. So if I'm making a mistake in the video, I also correct myself in the video. And so it's a whole morning process. And then I will shoot the video, that 8 to 10 minute video, and then post, and then just add subtitles, because I've noticed that people on TikTok want subtitles. And so, it takes about a working day, essentially. And that's why I can't do breaking news, because I'm finicky about detail and making sure I get different perspectives.
Very similar. But yes, so I do a lot more breaking news, so it wouldn't take as long. I also have a cheat code. I have a current affairs junkie husband who is who's switched on.
I need one of those.
That's like a handicap in golf. Wow.
So he is always switched on. And I mean, we speak about the Madanga Commission and ad hoc and how it's so hard to keep tabs on both. I keep tabs through him as well. And he'll say, "Oh, listen, this just happened. We need to check it out." Okay.
Yeah, you need to do a video about that.
Yeah, no. And he'll say, "Listen, they said this. Remember what they said yesterday? Yeah, we need to put this in context. Yes, we need to do that." So that is my cheat code. But yes, so there is scripting for me as well. There's a lot of reading that goes into it. And I wanted to say earlier, when Dan is sitting there circling articles, I'm sure it's not one article, right? It's articles from a number of news sources. You're sitting there comparing what would naturally happen with stories. You see it all the time with the Sunday papers, where they might run the same story, but there's different information in the stories, right? So you're sitting there really juxtaposing. You're sitting there comparing, and then thinking of how to package this in a way that is palatable, in a way that resonates, in a way that speaks to the people and they'll understand. And sometimes it's stories that are investigations, right? That need you also. I mean, I found myself educating myself a lot about things I know nothing about, because yes, contrary to popular belief, journalists don't know everything about everything. We are learning. A lot of what we're doing is learning systems, how companies run. So a lot of it is reading for me, and a lot of it is writing things down. And I find when I write things down, I find out and I get to know how much I know about the story and what more I need to learn.
All right, I've got some questions coming from some of our listeners on 0727021702. We'll get to your WhatsApps and calls. after the break. It's 17 before 11.
Across the desk
With Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
It's 15 minutes before 11 o'clock. I'm hosting Current Affairs TikTokers on our Across the Desk feature. These are people who will do videos to tell you what's happening in the news, but they make it digestible. They make it palatable. And people like Dan Cotter will make it funny in the process as well. Do you follow them on Instagram, on TikTok? And what do you like about that short form sort of news pockets of information? Give us a call or send us a WhatsApp voice note. I've got a few questions coming from our listeners, and one of them was, when Amahle said 5 hours, like a tweet came in and said, that sounds like a 95. Do they get paid for it? Is there money on this platform? Amahle?
No. No, but I understand that I now leverage myself and my brand to get other work. So I've done a separation of church and state, where my Instagram is a lot of brand work, where I'm working with different companies to influence and content create. And then my TikTok is where my current affairs is. And so I understand that I don't get that brand work without having the platform that I have. Okay. So that's kind of how how I'm essentially making an income. But no, TikTok it's not paying us yet, I hope.
Yep, same, exactly the same. I mean, I've been getting a lot more speaking engagements through what I do on the platform. So that's really my way of leveraging and how I monetize it. But TikTok itself and Instagram really doesn't pay us for this.
Yeah, whereas YouTube does, and they pay an iota, to use a old and ancient word that my dad loves to use, a tiny portion of what they pay to American creators or British creators, because they create a proportional percentage. What percentage of ad revenue total from your videos goes to you versus them, but they don't adjust for currency value, and then they pay you in rands. So it's tiny. But I take the approach, and when I used to be on the radio on Good FM and 5FM and Cape Talk and that, because I developed this kind of like comedic as well as informative reputation, it's allowed me to get brand deals. But my model is now just a radio model. So I now sell advertising campaigns on my podcast, for example, that can run a number of weeks, just like I would on a TV station or a radio station.
Yeah, something else that's been really great for me on those platforms is the training that I've been doing. A lot of digital content training, people that are interested in how you do it, how are you able to process all of this information and tell these stories so effectively. So that's another way of monetizing. It's always so interesting for me to hear people saying, oh, don't you want to come and share your thoughts on matters? I mean, I've been a journalist for 10 years. I've had thoughts all my life, right? But now, because I'm on TikTok, right? Sharing my thoughts. And there's this interest in, don't you want to come and speak about this? Don't you want to share this?
Do you remember the conversations we've had probably like 2 years ago?
Yes.
Next to the lips, when you asked me,
yes,
how
about
do I
do this? Yeah.
Do the speaking stuff?
Yes.
I mean, look at you now.
It's also crazy how quickly we've had to learn how to be entrepreneurs.
Yes.
So I have a company. I have 2 full-time staff. They make no money but the money I pay them, like their rent and their mortgage and their and then I've got 1 part-time staff, and they work, and I have to pay their salaries every month, and it completely changes my relationship with money that I'm responsible for staff.
Here's a question as well from one of our listeners. What has been the most surprising reaction you've received to your online commentary so far? And what's that one video that really went crazy? That got I don't know, 300,000 views or a million, whatever.
Like 2 million.
What?
Yeah.
Which one was that?
No, I think so I had one that I made about I think it was about the currency manipulation, I think.
Oh.
Yes. So that blew up on Instagram a lot. And that's because the Constitutional Court case was going on for days.
Yeah.
And I happened to be covering it already. Yeah. So I was sitting in court all day, and I was able to put that together and put it in a video. And people were like, thank you so much. I've been wondering what's going on. And I just haven't been able to figure it out, even though I've read so much about it.
It's such a complex story.
It is a complex story, and it's been going on quite literally for more than a decade. So people appreciated that. That's a big one. The Madlanga content always does amazing. But I'll tell you, I was at the mall a few weeks ago, and I'd done a video about was it Gwedemandashe's comments? Yes, about employment, right? And quite frankly, I put on a bit of a Dan on that one, because I went beyond telling you the facts in that one, and I really did weigh in, and because I was actually a little upset. I'm still very upset about that. And it came through on the TikTok, and I actually remember having the conversation with my husband about it, and he was like, "Are you sure you want to speak?" And I said, "You know what, this is actually what I want to go here because I feel so strongly about this." And there's a lady who bumped into me at the mall, and we stood there for 35 minutes where she was ranting and raving and telling me why everything I said is exactly how she feels about the situation. So there's the impact that you see online. That video also really did well. But then there's the people that will stop you at the shopping center, in the queue at the till, and want to have the conversation. And I think that's really heartwarming for me.
Yeah, Dan and Namasha, you'll tell me about the videos that have also gotten the most views after the break. It's 9 minutes before 11.
Live across the desk
With Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
7 minutes before 11 o'clock. All right, let's go to you first, Amashle. What's the one video that you remember like went crazy on social media?
So I think the one that has the highest views, which is 1.6 million, is the video where I was explaining General Mkwanazi's press conference. And I had done it in a split as if he was this movie, like a blockbuster. So I was like, he's number one on the call sheet. And I'd basically broken it down like that.
Yeah.
But more recently, before I became popular, I had done a warning to Cape Town residents in like 2024 about how, the international immigrants who were living in Cape Town illegally were going to cause a rental crisis. And I was warning, I was warning white South Africans that they needed to do something about it. And recently, another video about this girl was saying that she's now homeless. Oh, she's struggling to find a home, and lots of people were tagging me. And so I had a little bit of an "I told you so" moment. That 2 years ago, I told you this would happen if you guys did not lobby your government to introduce rent controls or whatever. And so I think that one has been the most recent one, and it was a very short 2-minute video of me just laughing and saying, "I told you guys this would happen."
Yeah.
But I think the General Mkwanazi one is my most viewed because it quite literally, I think that is the biggest story we've had in the country for the last 5 years, since state capture, I think.
Listen, it is indeed. Dan?
Okay, so a couple. So the obvious one is just the Piers Morgan feature. And I think that was quite simply because South Africans are the most fearsomely patriotic people on earth if you touch us on our studio from beyond the borders.
Yeah.
So it's a very much no, there's problems in our house, but if you're not part of our house, don't you dare talk on our problems. And there was a lot of country duty. You've seen that country duty energy. Thank you, Dan, for fighting for the truth about the country or whatever. When I guess I was kind of doing that, but I was also just equally outraged by the lies and the disinformation that were peddled to even cause that interview and that kind of broadcast to happen at all. And I think South Africans also have a pretty classic middle country mentality that when the great powers look at us and give us attention, like Piers Morgan, the most influential and famous conflict entertainer in modern history, we all turn up in the same way as when Tyler wins a Grammy or the Springboks win a Rugby World Cup or something like that. And so that went very, very, very far. The most surprising comment that I get often, Clement, you asked this earlier, is black South Africans going, "Oh, your brethren are going to come for you over this." There's like this mentality that's like, "Oh, you're white, you're supposed to fight for the white team. There are still teams." And to be fair, all the death threats I've ever got have been from white people. But there's this odd kind of like, how dare you suggest any idea that is not in the interests of broadly wealthier, paler people, or exposes the serious immoral history of the wealth and privilege of historically paler people. And I've always found that fascinating, is in like white people be like, "Oh, you're just trying," in exactly this accent, "You're just trying to like, you and the black people, like you just love saying what they like and you're just arguing nonsense, but they like it because you want to be popular with the black people and maybe you like find black people attractive sexually." And I'm like, well, Clement, my man. And I'm not saying that this is all white people, but there is a rot online of vile, filthy, racist whiteness. And funnily enough, I realized this. I made a documentary in 2014 called Leicester, which was about racism and language exclusion at Stellenbosch University. And that's when I first got death threats. And I realized that the greatest threat to a racist white supremacist or a misogynist is not the opposition. It's the people within your camp who are disagreeing with you. So for a vile misogynist, I'm sure we've all about to watch Inside the Manosphere or have already watched it, Louis Theroux's new documentary. What's really threatening is not women saying that's disgusting. It's men saying that's disgusting because that means that men could influence other men to disagree with you, a man. And similarly with white supremacy, the most dangerous thing to a white supremacist is not a black person disagreeing with them. It's a white person saying, no, because it's more likely white people will listen to a white person in the same way it's more likely men will listen to a man.
Yeah. How do you find you guys on the socials, Khomotso?
All right, so at Motso underscore, at Motso underscore
What, Khomotso
Modise.
was already taken?
Clement. You know, a lot of people call me Motso. Okay.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Why do you find
I
that
didn't know
surprising?
I didn't.
Yes, so at Motso underscore Modise, that's on Twitter. What's it called now? X, right?
No,
And
it's
then-
not. We own that. It's a community-owned platform. It does not matter who bought it.
It's Twitter. Komotso Modise underscore ZA. That is, I know you're going to troll me for that also, Clement. Komotso Modise underscore ZA. Okay, that is on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yes, that's my Instagram. And I'm always getting my TikTok wrong. So I'm going to open it now and read it to you. At Motso underscore Abby. So Abby with an IE 0. Don't ask me questions.
Okay, Amashe, how about you?
I am Jacks of all trades underscore SA. So that's JAXX of all trades underscore SA on TikTok and on Instagram. I don't have Twitter anymore. It's too toxic for my own good.
I'm about to follow you, sister. Dan, how about you?
At Dan Corder on air everywhere except TikTok, where it's at Dan Corder, and you can find our podcasts on the Three Beanies Network on YouTube.
Perfect. Guys, thank you so much, and thank you for the incredible work that you do. It's a minute before 11.
Thank you so much for having me.